Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and I did something. I ordered sample cards from BoardgamesMaker, so you don't have to. Actually, I would still highly recommend, if you are seriously considering pursuing any sort of card game or board game project, that you do order the sample pack of cards directly from BoardgamesMaker, and I'll put a link in the description below to the exact product that I ordered to get a wide variety pack of all the different kinds of cards and finishes and textures that they offer. But I'm doing something that I talk about sometimes, some of you may know, and I had reason to figure out which card finish I actually thought would be the closest to my liking. So I'm going to do my best, however, to show you the differences in these cards, and there are a lot of them. So let's go on over to the HeroQuest board table to my left, your right, and check them out. All right, so what ends up happening is we have 2 cards for every finish that BoardgamesMaker has available. And the fronts of these cards, they're all just typical poker playing cards. This may give you some indication of the differences. Like here, the differences are very stark, very, very keen, but you'll be able to see the differences just as well on the backside of the cards as well. But nevertheless, we're going to be checking out all of these. I'm going to give you my personal opinion on each one, each type. Now, a couple things to point out before we really dig in here. These are all offered in one size. The size doesn't matter. They have a lot of different sizes that they offer, and you can get these finishes in just about whatever size they offer. It's just that for the purposes of providing you with a sample pack, they provide you with this poker size set of cards. And that would be the 2.48 inches by 3.46 inches. And just so it's completely transparent right from the get-go, there is like a 1 to 2 millimeter difference between these cards, what they're calling 2.48 by 3.46, and the official HeroQuest cards. So just something to keep in mind for the cut. For a lot of people, it really honestly shouldn't matter, just that tiny, tiny little difference. But for some people who are trying to create their own homebrew HeroQuest cards and they would like them to be the exact same size, it might be a point of contention. You'd have to be awfully picky, but I totally understand. Also, something else to note, these aren't going to be the same finishes offered by other manufacturers such as the Game Crafter. So this isn't like the end-all be-all every option you could ever have. This is just from BoardgamesMaker. And I know a lot of people like to get their stuff made from the Game Crafter as well. So in the future, we might be able to completely go through and check out an assortment of Game Crafter card finishes. But for now, let's get nerdy and check out the different finishes. 2 of each. We're going to start with P10 Plastic Card BGM card finish, showing you the front and the back. And just so you're kind of aware of the glossiness, my lighting here is really quite extensive. Something to point out is the HeroQuest cards, and I'm going to be using the HeroQuest example primarily because this channel's existence has a lot to do with sharing the content and homebrews and news about HeroQuest. I would really like for it to be considered a catch-all for a bunch of different tabletop dungeon crawlers, but that's a perception that I'd like to grow over time. It's totally fine right now to consider it a HeroQuest source. Hopefully you consider it the HeroQuest source, but you know. So the glossiness here is very, very similar. The thickness of the cards and their sort of pliability, that leaves something kind of to be desired. This plastic card finish feels kind of cheap. Durable, yes. They're not they're not easy to just like rip apart or anything like that. And there's no creases left over, no marks from where I was just doing that. And they did what they could in providing me with these cards, but if I had a lot more of them, I'd kind of be able to test their slidiness. And they do have a little bit of slidiness. They mostly keep in place though. Well enough if you're playing a game of Klondike, something like that. I'm going to sort of create a rolling tier list as we go on. So far, I'm just going to place these right here in the middle. And I don't really have enough room. I guess I can go vertical or horizontal, I mean, with this. Place them right here in the middle. My rating system will be cards I like least to cards I like more. All right, the next 3 sets of cards are going to be pretty quick to go through because they are all very similar to one another. It's light standard card BGM card finish. This is a semi-glossy finish, and I say semi-glossy because I got a card that I'm going to show you a little later that'll just blow you away. As far as the flexibility, it does feel slightly but noticeably more flexible than, say, a HeroQuest card. That's the light standard card finish. The medium card finish, all of the colors are coming through the exact same, the glossiness is the exact same, but the thickness is noticeably more than the light. You can apply the same amount of pressure to both cards and the light's going to cave faster. And in like manner, the thick card is going to give you even more resistance when you do that. So the thick standard BGM card finish is the same virtually in every way, color, texture, gloss, but it's a thicker card. This card is actually thicker than the HeroQuest cards. So now I'm actually going to rank the plastic card BGM finish above the light standard card because I like the mateness of it. It is slightly less glossy. It is definitely noticeable in real life. I can only hope that the camera picks up that sort of difference in the gloss, but there is just slightly more of a matte finish on the plastic. And for that reason, I like the plastic better than the light. But we're talking now about compromising different properties. I like the medium thickness better than the plastic and the light. I would rather have that thickness than that level of gloss, although it'd be nice to have the gloss level of the plastic on the thick standard card finish. And so this is my ranking for now. We have a lot more to go, so let's keep going. Smooth card BGM finish and standard smooth card BGM finish and superior smooth BGM card finish. All right, these two are closer together than the standard and the superior smooth. They are virtually identical. There's really not a lot here that marks them as different. The coloration is the same. The glossiness is pretty much exactly the same on both, maybe a little bit more matte on the smooth card versus the standard smooth. So the standard smooth is slightly thicker. It has a little bit less give when I'm trying to flex the card. So I would say that I definitely like the standard smooth better than the smooth. And I'm going to start putting these guys in between. The A30 cards are thicker than the smooth cards, and I can't really tell any differences between the coloration or the gloss. So I'm going to put the medium standard above the smooth. So this is my own personal current ranking. This is just how much I like the cards. This really has nothing to do with the cards themselves. It's just my personal preference. Now, the superior smooth card finish, I would like to compare to the standard smooth card finish to show you the difference here. The colors are actually warmer. That's not just a trick of the camera. Looking at my camera preview screen and real life, I can tell you that is a very realistic difference. It's true to life. So we have our Jack of Clubs example across both, and we're not really going to see a lot of difference unless we're looking fairly closely. The lines look a little bit more defined on our superior smooth BGM card finish. And there's a little bit of like sparkly texture going on the face of the card that so far has not been present in anything else. So the superior smooth card finish is my favorite up to this point, and this is our current ranking. Now, you might have been sharp-eyed enough to notice that when we look at the HeroQuest card, we've got a sort of texture on here, this grid or cross pattern, and this is a linen finish. Up to this point, we've been looking at smooth cards, but we've got a few more to go before we get to the linen finishes, and then we'll start really drawing some comparisons. The standard smooth gloss finish are extremely glossy. Let's just grab this superior smooth BGM finish card for comparison. These are warm versions of the color coming through. I would argue pretty identical to the medium standard BGM card finish, but again, these are very, very glossy. So when we flip these over, we're going to have all kinds of shininess. You can see the difference on camera. Much more glossy, much more shiny than the medium standard. And honestly, this is going to be the stark contrast of shiny gloss, no matter which one of these I compare it to. These are the glossiest cards I have seen yet. I'm actually not sure personally which one I like better. I think they both have their place, so I'm actually going to tie these for my favorite so far. All right, next up is the Eco Herbage BGM card finish. Everything is linen textures after this, but this is kind of its own thing. It's got its own lovely sort of really old feeling recycled material texture, which is just a byproduct of being recycled or made out of recycled materials. And you can kind of tell these have a very cardboardy feel to them. I actually really, really like the feel, and I think if you were going to make cards that are like an homage to a classic game system, or if you were going to make like a classic HeroQuest homebrew cards, this would be a really nice, really lovely card type to use. It looks naturally aged. All right, so I'll just put these right up against the smooth card finish, and you can see they do not have the gloss. In fact, these are the least glossy cards out of this whole set. And again, that's just because the texture, the materials they're made out of, they're not reflecting hardly any light. I mean, they're reflecting enough that you can see the color on them. That's about it. Eco Herbage BGM card finish. Really like this. I would tie it. So we have like a three-way tie here at the very end for my favorite. But it's because it's got its own place. You know, it's not going to be suitable for just anything. All right, going now into the linen textures, and just to give you a better idea of what I mean, we're going to go ahead and compare the standard linen BGM card finish with a standard smooth BGM card finish. The colors are the same. The glossiness is actually really closely the same, but the linen texture on the left card, which is going to be something you'll have to really look closely to see, and I don't know if you will be able to see it on camera. That's something that will be a matter of preference. Do you want the linen versus the smooth? Me, I really have come to be attached to the linen finish. Now I can see the linen texture on my camera preview for the HeroQuest card, so if it's not obvious, and it really isn't that much obvious in real life, this pattern, this cross grain, this linen is on this card as well. And it will be on every card we look at going forward. You've got your 1 to 2 millimeter size difference again. Don't worry about it. These definitely have a little bit more flex in them than, say, the standard HeroQuest cards. So I'm going to place these right between the medium standard and standard smooth. While I'd like to think of myself as somebody who prefers the linen, there are just a few more properties of the standard smooth that I like over the linen cards. And then the linen versions of these cards, basically how I think of these at this point, are better than everything else before it. But all that's about to change. We have in our hands the BGM Linen BGM card finish. They're so redundant with some of these. Now the linen texture on this card is much easier to see. It is much more pronounced. It is deeper, and it is actually much closer to the obviousness of the HeroQuest cards, if not a little bit more, as a matter of fact. I'm trying to get that gloss to shine off of it. They have identical amounts of gloss. It's going to look a little bit different because they're using different colors, but no, these are very close in the amount of glossy shininess that they have. For some, that texture might be a little bit overbearing. I don't know, but the flexion is just about the exact same as the HeroQuest card. So I would argue that these are very close to your global contemporary 2021 HeroQuest in terms of quality of card for your homebrew. You may disagree. You may want to go for the slightly more subtle linen texture of the standard linen, and I would not be able to argue with you at all. I would think that that's a fine choice as well. Kind of think it really just depends on your artwork. So if you're going to be producing something of any sort of major caliber, I would definitely order one card of each type to figure out which one is better for your project, because your colors may pop a little bit more in one card versus the other. They're really close to being the same. These are the same between the BGM linen and the standard linen though. But you might like how your card looks with that more pronounced grid pattern. As far as I go, I'm going to put these just below the standard linen because I don't like how much more pronounced that is. Next up, we have the Linen Air Light Linen Card BGM and Linen Air BGM card finishes. And honestly, these three sets of cards posed the most challenge for me in terms of trying to figure out the differences and where they lie. They have extremely similar glossiness. They have very close color presentation. They're all pretty juicy. I would say the M31s do alter the color just a little bit over the M30. You might be able to see it here. We've got these two cards and these two cards. They're the exact same. The cards in the middle are just slightly lighter. I mean by a shade. I mean by, take this into your paint program and you tick it up just one shade with exposure and you'll get this. The linen texture is present on all of these, but it's not as pronounced. The thickness, they're kind of flimsy. The Linen Air Light I probably wouldn't go with. The Linen Air, better, probably still maybe a little too flimsy for me. Linen Card BGM, I would say because of the feel of the card and how it's a little bit more sturdy feeling, this is going to be my favorite. And yeah, again, not something, whoops, it is something you can actually tear into. maybe that's a linen card feature. I don't know. If I apply the exact same pressure on the HeroQuest card, and yes, I know what I'm doing. I was going to stop short of actually tearing it. It doesn't tear that easily, so I'm not sure on this one. I'd probably say it's up in the air. I'd place it right about here, and then these guys I'm going to place pretty low. I don't really care where they are because I would probably just never use them when I have all of these options available to me. So that is the BoardGamesMaker card finish sample pack, and I would say getting rid of most of these, my top choices are going to be the standard smooth BGM card finish. They are very thick feeling. They feel very sturdy. They have a comfortable amount of gloss to them, not too glaring. The thick standard card finish, if you want some really thick, heavy use cards. Love how these feel. I would not use these for like poker cards. I would use these for cards that represent, I don't know, like your hero boards or something, unless you wanted to use tiles. And then the standard smooth gloss finish is really fancy. This is for really attention-grabbing glossy cards. I don't know exactly what you would want to use with them, but there is an option. The superior smooth finish, very sturdy, and the eco herbage if you're wanting an old school look or if you're just wanting to contribute a little bit more environmentally. And then for the linen card, because none of the ones I picked I realize are in the linen category, I'm going to go with the standard linen BGM card finish, M28. Actually, M28 or M29. This is going to depend on the level of linen texture that you want to see on your card, honestly. The M29s feel a little bit more sturdier. That might just be because it's a more pronounced linen pattern. But yeah, I'd probably put these guys at a tie. So my favorite 6 card finishes right here. I mean my favorite 7 card finishes, and that's that. And so I hope you enjoyed this very nerdy, very niche, very silly review of different finishes for the different cards that are offered by BoardGamesMaker from their sample pack. I would highly advise you to get this sample pack if this video really didn't convey to you the differences in the color and the feel and in the flexibility of each card. And in the glossiness, I think some of the differences are very obvious, but other differences are really, really hard to see. And so if the differences that are obvious mean a lot to you, you'll have a much better idea of what you want going into your homebrew project. And if the differences are very subtle, you may not care, and it may just be a matter of cost. But definitely order more than a few of one type and more than a few of another to kind of see how they feel in mass in your hands while you're shuffling or dealing them during your game. That's about it. Comment anything you like down below. If you like this video, please consider watching another one or subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next adventure. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.